Hi everyone. For my behavior change project, I decided to work on decreasing inappropriate urination using a DRO. I chose this behavior because the client that I chose to work with is fairly new to my center. However, this inappropriate urination had been an issue for her at her previous school, and now at our center we started noticing it quite a bit as well. So I operationally defined inappropriate urination as my client urinating in any place other than the toilet. And we were using a count measurement system to measure the frequency of the times that she was not dry. And we used a changing criteria design. So during baseline, I told my therapist to continue their day as normal. And while we were working at her desk or even on her reinforcement break, my client would normally either urinate in her underwear and squat down or sit there and just urinate, or she would also attempt to purposely urinate on the bathroom floor while she was going to the restroom. And as you can see in the data graph that I've also posted, during baseline, she averaged about 4 accidents a day. So during the intervention phase, I started using the DRO, and for that, I used a continuous timer, and it was set for that specific dry target interval. And I also gave my client a picture board with a 2-sided face. There was a smile on one side and then a frown on the other as a visual prompt. And so what we would do was when the timer would go off, I told the therapist to ask my client if she was dry. And if she was, they would give her an edible and keep the smile face side up. But if she was not dry, we would turn the face upside down to the frown side and we would stop the timer. And I told them to tally it as an accident in the data packet, and she would not be able to receive an edible for that time period. And she would have to be in her room for 5 minutes before she could go to the bathroom to change. And then once she was done in the bathroom changing, then her timer would be started again. And if she had 0 inappropriate urinations for the specific target interval at that time for 3 consecutive days, then I would increase the target interval. We were attempting to work up to a full 8 hours, and which would be considered a 1 complete session. But due to the time constraints, I wasn't able to get that far. And I actually was only able to record my baseline data where she inappropriately urinated for an average of 4 times a day. And during my intervention, I started with a 5-minute increment, and the frequency of her inappropriate urinations did decrease, and she only actually had 1 accident during the intervention phase on the very first day, and then she ended up having no accidents for 3 days. But due to the time where this assignment was due, I wasn't able to show more data for that. But I am continuously collecting data, and she's up to 30 minutes right now for her dry timer, which is really great. I had a couple limitations for this study. The first one obviously is a time constraint. There was not enough time for the study, and that's easy to say when it's a summer session. But also, I realized more as I thought about it. Another issue for my DRO was the fact that I used a visual prompt. Normally, you would not use a visual prompt or anything for a DRO because you are supposed to ignore the behavior. And by using the visual prompt, it actually allowed for attention to be drawn to the behavior. Therefore, truly ignoring the behavior didn't happen. And another issue is I worried about satiation for her edible because at first she was receiving her edible every 5 minutes. So that was one issue that I worried about with her getting burnt out on that edible. But I plan on continuing this research, so hopefully we can see further increase in her data. Thanks, guys.